Is it a red flag if you're an adult who doesn't eat vegetables? I went on a date with a woman recently who said she won't eat any vegetables except potatoes. She only said her diet mainly consists of bread and meat. Edit for context. I wasn't too fussed about it when she first told me. But alarm bells went off in my head when she said she can't stand the taste of toothpaste because of the mint flavor. It is a long-term health concern. But how that might impact on a relationship is more of your choice. I'm exactly the same as her and it's definitely a red flag. Maybe. It's hard to imagine cooking separate meals for the rest of our lives honestly. Being a bit picky is fine, but eating no vegetables is not something I can really imagine. Yes. Also not drinking water. It's not the end of the world, but it is an indicator of other traits. My dad eats a very limited selection of vegetables and is an absurdly picky eater. He's a good person. But it definitely impacts his health in a negative way. Not necessarily people can have complex relationships with food. Maybe she's never had them prepared properly. My husband is branded as a picky eater, but I then learned that his parents were and are terrible cooks. He dislikes bland, mushy, overcooked foods. Not exactly picky behavior. Sometimes it's a texture thing. Mint can be very strong to some people. Especially if they are a super taster. Just some food for thought. IDK about red flag, but it's certainly not a healthy diet to have in the long term. Whether or not it presents an issue depends on how important your partner's health is to you or how important being able to share a wide variety of foods is for you. Personally, I'm a vegetarian and love bonding with people through food. So I'd be pretty disappointed to find out I was dating someone who ate like that. Ooh, chronic malnourishment is just so hot, what a catch. I have a friend who isn't a big fan of veg. He eats them sometimes but would rather not. I think it's kinda weird, but I don't think it makes him immature or anything. Meanwhile, I'll eat half a cucumber for breakfast. People would probably think that's weird too, so hey. It is what it is. I won't police other people's diet, but it's probably a good idea to take a multivitamin if your normal eating doesn't center on balance, variety, and moderation. Being that picky when it's pickiness and not an actual physical issue like food allergies is often an eating disorder. Not all eating disorders are anorexia. But mentally they are equally damaging to the person who adheres to them. And no, having an eating disorder is not necessarily a sign of immaturity. At a certain point, PPL should be experimenting different ways of cooking. I was a kind of picky child. But in adulthood I started to try new things in restaurants, at parties, and just in cooking itself. There's a reason most people at some point end up having a favorite green veggie. Or liking most veggies in general. It's because they tried it enough that they found a way they like it. This red flag would tell me that someone is either closed off or not open to newer experiences. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a red flag. Because it really depends on the reasoning. Like they might be autistic and have pretty rigid preferences when it comes to food. In which case it's not a red flag whatsoever. But like let's say their reasoning is because they're one of those people that hates vegetarians and doesn't want to eat rabbit food. Then yes, it is a red flag. Basically you can't know it's a red flag until you know why. Went through some comments. Holy hell, y'all come out to some wild conclusions on people based on some food preference. Tears of joy, tears of joy, tears of joy. Is it just me, or has red flag become diluted to the point of meaning basically nothing? It used to be like signs that this person is likely to beat you and stuff. Not like, oh, this person doesn't like my favorite band LMAO. Guy with the same eating habits. I may be different, but I personally hate being this way. For me, it's a neurodivergent thing. When something doesn't taste good, that includes things that I find not unpleasant but middling. I can't willingly eat. I force myself to eat things all the time that I don't find appetizing. It's like being picky but amped up to 1000. I'm trying to stop, but it's insanely hard. I hate veggies, so I mix them with fruit and drink them. Thank you. Veggie shake. Some people have food aversions. So I get it. She may also have sensory issues with the toothpaste thing. I think if you aren't used to seeing people with those issues, then yeah, it looked like a red flag. However, these people may be neurodivergent IDKOFC. A lot of times they cannot help it. And I think it's more important to be kind about these sort of things. Maybe she just isn't who you are looking for, and that is perfectly fine. That doesn't make her a red flag though. I'd say it's a yellow flag. Mostly consider if you want to spend a long time period accommodating that dietary restriction. And if the future health issues that will inevitably bring are things you want to have to watch and be relatively helpless to assist with. It's not always gonna be a deal breaker. But it could be for some people. It really depends on why they don't eat vegetables. There could be a medical reason for it. I cannot have any raw vegetables. A salad will put me in the Red flags are personal. Sure, there's a lot of overlap between people, but red flags aren't universal. I think it's a little immature to just dismiss all vegetables like that. Potatoes aren't even a vegetable. Culinarily speaking. If you are looking for a long-term partner, that may factor into how healthy she'll be in the future. My mother hates vegetables and she will soon be 81. Not everything is a red flag, but that's definitely weird. As someone who is an adventurous eater, I could not date someone who is picky or doesn't eat veggies. Maybe she's sensitive to most vegetables. I have IBS and get really bloated from eating them. Not everything is a red flag, lol. It's not like she's hurting anyone but herself. Edit. Looking at the responses, let me say that it's a date, not a national crisis. Also, people can change their habits. I love good and varied food. This would be an absolute no-go for me. But red flag? Maybe when it shows their immatureness. For me, yes, BC. Out of every single vegetables available, there isn't one she doesn't like. It's not very healthy either. A red flag for what? No vegetables equals child abuser. Serial cheater. I don't know what you're worried about. She doesn't like vegetables. Not a big deal. She could just be neurodivergent and have sensory issues. I can't stand mushy foods. I used flavored toothpaste cause I hate that strong mint flavor as well. Probably not a red flag. You may want to look into that. Expect her to be particular about many things and decide on the color of that flag. Tears of joy.